Hey! So, we're doing a little bit different of a top 5 this week. Recently we have seen about 5 movies in just a couple of months, so we're actually going to discuss what our favorite was, like from 5 down to 1. Now, to let you guys know what movies we saw,
in order of when we saw them, it would have been Captain America, Godzilla, Spider-Man 2, Maleficent, and
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past, yes. We liked all 5 of these movies, just for the clarity. So if we put your favorite at the bottom of the list, we mean nothing by it. We don't have the same list, like we haven't actually shared with each other.
Oh, please. Catterference.
Catterference. He's under the door.
Come on in.
Yeah, as stated, we haven't, we haven't actually discussed with each other what our top 5s are. We kind of know where some of them are going to be, but we haven't actually discussed it. I've imagined that some of us are going to be a bit upset. It's hard to exactly say. When I rate my movies, just for reference, my rating is, I go between whether I felt the movie was effective, as in, did it do what it needed to do? Was it watchable? Did it remember its audience? That's what I call an effective film, and also my personal expectations, because you can't really be objective with these kind of things. At the end of the day, it's did you like it or not. A movie could be really good, but if it just wasn't your kind of movie, it wasn't your kind of movie. So, I know you have a slightly different way of handling it, of course.
His is a bit more, like, I guess more, like, objective and more, like, actual critical. Mine ends up being almost entirely superficial. How did it make me feel? Did I get a lot of emotion out of it? Did I like the aesthetics? How beautiful was it? And how many geek out moments did I have? How many times where I was like, did I just have to tell somebody, like, And another thing for me is expectations. Was it what I wanted it to be? Did it exceed my expectations, or did it make me sad? What did it do?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, expectations were kind of important with me too in a lot of ways, because sometimes a movie, if it doesn't, it could be good. If it doesn't quite get to where you want it to, you're like, but more on that later. So, what was your number 5 pick?
This pains me. All right, I'm gonna give a disclaimer here, which of course will tell you exactly what my 5th one is. All right, so people might know that I absolutely hate Superman. But there is an equivalent on the Marvel side who is amazing. Like, the moment I realized what their Marvel equivalent was, oh my gosh, he's amazing. That's why it hurts to put Winter Soldier on the bottom of the list. Like a lot. Like a lot.
It was a good movie, but yeah, you gotta start somewhere. This isn't saying this is the worst movie we've seen all year. I've seen 7 movies this year total. And the other 2 wouldn't be on this list anyway. They were pretty bad. I'll probably end up bringing them up at some point later. But yeah, go ahead, Winter Soldier.
Well, I really liked it, and spoiler for who the bad guy is. If you guys haven't seen it, it ends up being Bucky. Oh no. Well, it gave me a lot of feels, like Captain America always does, and I freaking loved, like, the sidekick thing. I loved it. I love Captain America, but the problem is that while I loved all those characters and the certain emotions to me, like, it was easily forgettable, and that hurts, because I really, really do love Captain America, and, like, I'm thinking back to it, and while I can remember a lot of bits in the first movie, this one just kept being forgettable to me, and yeah, that was why, because as much as it was a Captain America movie, and I absolutely love Captain America, it didn't do enough to stick.
Okay. Cool. Well, my number 5 is probably going to get my face eaten, okay? But I think she kind of knows it was coming. My number 5 is Maleficent. I'll put it this way. Was it an effective film? Yes. For what they were trying to do, what they were trying to create, definitely an effective film, I felt. It was an effective retelling. Did it meet my expectations? Did it meet them? Did it go below them? Did it exceed them? I have to give it a incomplete because it didn't do anything I expected at all. Actually, it completely went in a completely different direction than I would have ever thought, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. It's okay. It's good when movies surprise me. This movie surprised me in a lot of ways. I had a few hang-ups with certain aspects of it. I thought Angelina Jolie did well. I thought she did pretty good. I mean, they casted well for this. I mean, we're all kind of nervous when we heard it was her, but she looked the part. She acted the part. It was pretty good for what they were trying to do. I wasn't really going in there looking for a retelling, though, or at least the retelling the way they had. A couple of my bigger problems was I didn't feel like the good fairies had any reason to be in the movie. They were kind of just there because they needed to be. I'm like, could you do something with them? Because, you know, in the cartoon, they were ignorant of the world. Like, you know, after 16 years, they didn't know how to bake a cake or make a dress. They didn't even know how to start. In this movie, they were just stupid. And I was like, come on, guys. I like those characters in the original. You know, they didn't do anything in that movie. No, they didn't take care of that child. They didn't take care of her. Sorry, spoiler alert. They're terrible. And I didn't like that. And, I did not like. And the thing that, like, one thing, when I left that movie, there was something inside of me just saying, was just telling me, this movie's terrible, I hate it. I'm like, why am I feeling like this? This is too strong of an emotional response. And then we stopped off at Sheets to get some smoothies, and it hit me. I'm like, oh, King Stefan reminds me of Noah. One of the movies I saw this year. It would have been my number 7 if we'd gone that low, and that's only because I haven't seen more movies this year. I saw Noah, and I don't care what your religion or what your beliefs are. That was a terrible movie. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And the thing is, if you want to know why I hated it, okay, just imagine if King Stefan were the main character of your story, and he was kind of in charge, you know, he was in charge of everything. He was just the main character. He was the guy making all the shots, all the decisions, and you're supposed to be following, you're supposed to empathize with him, okay? That's Noah. If you want to know, like, watch Maleficent instead, because it's a much better film. I wanted them to do more with King Stefan, to be honest. I wanted them to do more with him. I kind of wanted him to have a purpose. I wanted him to have a redeemable moment, because Noah didn't have one. I wanted a lot more out of it. I just kind of felt like they took a baseless villain out of Maleficent and made her the good guy by making another baseless villain. I mean, I could kind of see where both characters were coming from. It's just you know, but you know, honestly, again, Maleficent was a pretty good film. It wasn't anything that I was expecting, so I had to kind of reevaluate how I was evaluating the film mid-film. But overall, it was a decent film. It's just not my favorite out of the bunch. So it's my number 5 pick. Okay.
Yeah, that was actually that. You think that I was expecting that? I was not.
Really? Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
I was expecting that to be much higher on the list for you.
Yeah, I honestly had wanted it to be. To be perfectly blunt, I wanted it to be higher. That's all, but, you know, I said it was a decent movie. Like, again, Angelina Jolie was great. I liked their casting for Aurora, because I liked that actress ever since I saw her in Super 8. The castings again, great. A lot of the other things they did in the movie, use of the crow, great. Love that. I can't remember his name. Sure, you might. I love that. I loved a lot of things about the film. I love the atmosphere. I love that they were brave enough to retell the story in a way, again, I wasn't quite expecting. But yeah. It was overall a very good film, I would say. It's just, I couldn't really place it because I just wasn't expecting anything that they did in the film. Again, aside from the few complaints I had, otherwise, good film. Good film, so. Number 4 then, I guess?
Yeah. And if I keep looking down, I'm sorry. The cat is right there, and he's very, very distracting because he's being real cute.
Yeah.
And a moth flew down my shirt earlier, so I'm convinced it's still there. So I keep trying. Anyways, distractions out of the way. My number 4. it's surprising that it didn't end up being my number 5, is actually Godzilla. Now, the only expectations I had coming into this film were, to see an epic fight. The human story was fantastic. It really was. And I really felt for the characters. And, they really helped to develop what was going on. Like, normally in a Godzilla movie, that really doesn't happen, okay? I've seen Godzilla ever since I was a wee child, and no. But the problem was that there was too much of that. Like, alright, the fights, they went great. They were great fights. But I wanted more of them. And when I leave a theater wanting more than what I got, that tends to be real disappointing real fast. I was hyped about the fights. They made me so happy to see him after so long. And I really empathized with the characters, but again, leaving the theater wanting more isn't a thing for me. I can't be happy that way.
Well, this next, my number 4 is going to be a bit of a shocker to you, I'm sure. Another shocker. Because we're about to hit stereo. My number 4 was Godzilla.
I thought that would be your number 1.
I am a super fan. I love Godzilla. I love Godzilla. And here's the thing. My first category, was it effective? Absolutely. It remembered the fans. It remembered a lot of them. It did what it needed to do. And what did it need to do? It needed to be, it had one job. It had one goal, and one goal only. And that job was to be better than Godzilla 1998. That was it. That was it. That's all it needed to do to get fans to love it.
Still effective.
Okay, yeah. Of course, saying it's better than Godzilla 1998 is like saying my little league won the 14th place trophy because we showed up. Okay? It's a participation trophy. Was it better than that? Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Again, the people story was amazing. This, I lobbed a lot of extra expectations on this film too, more than I knew I should have, but I was so hyped about this film. I was so glad, because I knew, some people didn't know, I knew in advance he was going to be fighting other monsters, which is what Godzilla needs to do. It's what he does, it's what he does best. My big problems with it were twofold. Problem number 1 was, there's a great monster fight over there, just off camera, you can't see. There wasn't enough, okay? Like, they teased us. Like, the first time they did it, I was willing to forgive it because it was probably just going to be a real short one. Like, it was a quick scuffle, and then the one monster just booked it, which you'd expect because he wasn't going to stand a chance against Godzilla. But then they kept doing it and doing it. It got really, really annoying. And as for the people story, it was probably one of the best told people stories I'd ever seen in a Godzilla movie. Although I have to agree with another reviewer, it was Angry Joe who said this. He said, they killed off the best actor way too soon. They killed off the best actor in the movie way too soon. And the second best actor didn't get enough, the Japanese guy, did not get enough screen time. I loved him in this movie too. I don't know the guy's name, I'm sorry. But they didn't get enough he didn't get enough screen time. The people story is usually just there for filler. It's to fill in the spots between the monster battles because everybody comes to see. This took up way too much time with it. Don't get me wrong, the characters were somewhat interesting, although the one guy he's either the most unlucky person in the world or the most, because he, dodges Godzilla, or dodges a monster 4 times, and somehow is still alive, and a nuclear blast, and everything else you can imagine. Oh, and here's some fun. The main soldier guy and his wife are set to play Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the Avengers movie. So,
awkward!
Yeah, you get to see. So if you watch Godzilla, you get to see brothers and sisters kissing, which is surprisingly not out of canon with Marvel. So, yeah, I love the movie. I really did. And it left me, like Crystal, left me wanting more. But I feel like wanting more in a good way. I want them to make more. I want them to have more monster fights. I want them to have more creatures. Personally, I'd love it if they somehow managed to shoehorn another Toho monster into this. That'd be so, to see him fight, to see Godzilla fighting King Ghidorah, and with this setup, because the paddles were just amazing. Oh, and the time I geeked out the most, Godzilla used his tail to fight, which sounds kind of weird, but that was a hallmark. He would always do a spin and hit with the tail, and as soon as he was setting up to hit the one with him, oh boy, here it goes, and it was a big hit. They made it worth it. He only did it once, but they made it worth it. I was worried they wasn't going to use the atomic breath for a while.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Is he gonna, and then he gets up, I'm like, he's glowing. Yes! I was geeking out that entire film. I loved it to death, but something had to go in number 4 slot. Alright, that's it for me. What's your number 3?
It sucks because, like, these 3 films are almost 100% tied with one another. It was hard to shuffle these in position. Honestly, it was hard to shuffle everything in position. But Spider-Man. Absolutely love Spider-Man. We actually only recently saw the first one. Recently?
Yeah.
I'm using recently a lot. But,
recently.
I actually really definitely liked... I guess I liked the first one a little bit more because it was setting up the foundations, but I still really liked this one. You know, all the characters were definitely themselves. I liked that they decided to keep Harry going, and the guy playing Peter definitely plays Peter right. Predictably, what was supposed to happen with the love interest happened, and the feels and all the sadness and all the... But ultimately, he keeps being himself, and he keeps going on, and really, it was real accurate, and it was a very lovable movie, and, you know, it gave me all the feels, and all the geeking out, and that was extremely important. That's why, like, my numbers 3, 2, and 1 are pretty much just all equal.
Yeah.
They're equal. So that's the thing.
I had the same kind of trouble, too. My number 3 is Captain America Winter Soldier. It got there because I had to kind of... This was the movie we saw the longest ago, and I kind of had to remember a little bit more about it before I was realizing I wasn't going to drop it below where number 3. Honestly, did it do what it needed to do? Yes. Yes, it was a Captain America movie, and it went farther than the previous Captain America movie, you know? Like, I liked the second Thor movie, you know, but then kind of all the, other Iron Man movies, you kind of take or leave, you know? Like, honestly, I know a lot of people hated the second movie. I liked the second movie better than I liked the third one. But this one, this was Marvel Studio taking a step in the right direction again, I felt. There was a lot of moments in there I really liked. There was a lot of tension. Some people claim that Captain America doesn't have any character development. No. I like how they put in the Falcon, who's not really a big Marvel character, but I like how they snuck him in there. They made him useful. They made his insertion make sense. I liked a lot of that. The reason this one takes Godzilla is because it just exceeded expectations. It was more than it had to be. It was a lot more than it had to be. I went into it expecting it to be what it needed to be, which was just another Captain America movie with some probably good moments. This movie had a lot better moments. I do agree with some that the whole the story arcs with these Marvel movies, a lot of other movies seem to be kind of similar. Like, it's always this building towards something, but you know, I see that a little bit, but for the most part, as long as they keep mixing it up a little bit, it'll be fine. Looks like they're mixing it up more in Marvel Studio. You know, I remember sitting in there, and she's all upset because of what was happening to Nick Fury. And spoiler alert, I just leaned over to him like, he ain't gonna die. He isn't dead. It's Nick Fury. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. Nick Fury doesn't die. He just fakes it a lot. You know.
Coulson, no.
See, so I wasn't.
Sorry.
See, yeah, I wasn't that wasn't a swerve that got to me. Being Bucky, I was spoiled before I got there, you know.
I had no idea.
The thing is with me is I'm always wondering, like, are they gonna make Black Widow evil in this one or not? Because they did it in the Ultimates comics, and she was really bad in those. But you know, I keep wondering if she's gonna turncoat. That one Hydra guy being in the computer thing, I didn't see that coming. There was a. You know, it kind of kept me going. I was half wondering if they're going to try to bring back Red Skull. They didn't, because I've heard Hugo Weaving's not really that interested in it. Of course, you know, he's the only one who can stay in costume the whole time. I mean, yeah, he had the face thing for a while, but as soon as that was gone, he stayed Red Skull for the rest of the movie. It's like somebody actually cares about the character, whereas every other superhero is like, well, I'm going to rip my mask off. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Oh, nice touch. I liked when Captain America broke into the Smithsonian and stole his old costume to use again. That was awesome. The battles were good. The character tension there I thought was really good. Yeah, I mean, you kind of knew how it was going to end, but it was still pretty good. I liked it.
See, that's what's sad for me. I completely forgot that Black Widow was in it, even though I absolutely loved that.
She was great in it. Again, people keep like, why is Black Widow in this? Why is Black Widow in this movie? Like, okay, first of all, in the Avengers, she tricked the trickster god. Okay? Come on. She tricked the trickster god. You can't do that. You don't just do that.
I think that she ultimately helped build his character. Like, she ultimately did that. So.
I agree. Giving him dating advice while they're running away from agents and stuff. Oh, that was great. That was great. I liked Black Widow a lot in this movie. I thought she added a lot of things to it. He was trying to be slick and like, you remember with the one flash drive thing, and he comes back for it and he's stuck in a vending machine, and then he comes back for it later and it's gone, and there she kind of walks up beside him chewing gum. Hey. Oh yeah, she had a role in this movie. If people tell you she didn't, I haven't heard anybody say she didn't, but if people tell you she didn't, they don't know what they're talking about. Captain America does have character development. Black Widow is very useful. She was more useful in this movie than even the Avengers. In the Avengers, she did her part as best she could. She played her role well. I think sometimes people need to understand that, is that some of these characters really are supporting characters. That doesn't mean that they're not wanted or they're not needed or that they're somehow that they're less needed. No. Supporting characters are there for a reason, okay? Not everybody can be the big character. In fact, I'll get on that a little bit later with my number 2 pick. But, yeah. Go ahead. I'm kind of done, so.
So, we're doing number 2 now.
Number 2.
At this point, my list is transparent.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2 really should have been number 1. My number 1 is my number 1 out of stubbornness.
Yes.
Number 2 is X-Men, and like I said, it should have been number 1. That movie did what I exceeded. Like, it exceeded. Like, I knew about what was going to happen, but a whole lot more was involved, and by far my favorite scene was Xavier talking to Xavier. That made me like cry a lot. It was incredible. And if people don't know, which I don't think I talk about comics a whole lot, so you probably don't know, Magneto is my baby. My baby. So to see him being such an absolute prick face made me so upset, because I love old Magneto and everything, and Mystique is another favorite of mine too. So just to see all of that was going on there was like just destroying me in so many ways. But ultimately, like, I love the way that they were able to fix everything, how they were able to intertwine everything together just to it made one lump story that can now move forward into an even more depressing storyline. But it really should have been number 1, and for ways that I can't even like describe. Like, I'm so overwhelmed by everything that I can think of that you can tell that it is everything that I put on my list that I explained to you. Like, it went like 5 stars out of 5 stars on everything. I'm trying to think of a complaint. I need at least one complaint for this movie. My complaint is probably nitpicking things like, mainly, I mean, he's probably going to bring it up too, but when Wolverine came back, what was he doing where he was?
He's in New York during Vietnam. I thought he was with Colonel Stryker. What?
There's a couple of other little nitpicky things, but other than that, like, other than a couple of nitpicky things, like, it was a fantastic movie. It really was. Like, I walked out of there real happy about everything. Okay.
So yeah, my number 2 is Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Again, this is another case of a movie going above and beyond what it needed to. It could have been real simplistic. It could have been really botched. Like, if Sam Raimi had this script, it would have been bad. It would have been bad. And for those who don't know, Sam Raimi directed the other 3 series, and I hated that. Sam Raimi is not my favorite director. Stick to Evil Dead, please. But this movie, you know, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I don't care.
Yeah, there's so many people didn't like.
I don't get it. No, I thought it was pretty good. Some people accused it of being a remake of Spider-Man 3, but there was no jazz scene, so I don't even get where they're coming from on that. There was 3 villains, no big deal, okay? None of them turned out to kill, none of them retconned killed his uncle, okay? None of them retconned killed his uncle, okay? So this is not Spider-Man 3. You know, I thought Jamie Foxx does well playing a role. I mean, I thought like Electro.
Gosh.
I'm like,
Electro is me.
Okay.
So weird.
Yeah, I was like Electro. I'm like, he's not. You know, he's a known villain from Spider-Man. I was thinking like, is he gonna be able to carry a movie? And the truth was, sort of. But that's where the other ones came in. See, because the problem is that people are like, why are there so many villains? Well, because that's how Spider-Man rolls. He usually has multiple problems at the same time. You know, I like this Spider-Man because he seems to, you know, he's not as much of a genius as I think he should be, but he thinks, you know. In the first one, you know, when he was looking for the lizard in the sewer, he set up all those webs everywhere to try to find his genius. I mean, I thought, like, this is a little hard to believe because I don't think, because the odds of him still passing this general area is low. But I liked the idea that he was trying to actually do things, like, you know, do things that a spider can. I liked that. Let's see here. His interactions with Harry seemed a little bit awkward. That was like a complaint I had. I was like, okay, dude, he's dying anyway. Just give him your blood and let him sink the ship anyway, or offer to work with him so that he has time to study it, so he doesn't get desperate and does something, you know, completely stupid.
I don't know, the blood might have worked. It might have worked better than what his solution was.
Yeah, the ultimate solution was, yeah. But, there was things they could have done a little bit better. There was a few moments I'm just kind of like, going, what? But, like, okay, I knew who was going to be the Rhino right from the second I saw him. I'm like, oh, that guy. Yeah, he's going to be a Rhino. And some people were upset about that, too. It's like, well, he didn't beat the villain at the end. I'm like...
Really?
Okay, no, look. He was going to beat him, okay? This is the Rhino. He cannot... Like, remember I said about supporting characters? He's an interesting villain. He's pulled a villain by him all alone, but he can't carry a movie. That dude cannot carry a movie. He couldn't he could barely carry off being a villain in the cartoon. Okay? He was kind of a chump. He's a thug. And in the you know, the original, yeah, the basically the thing about the Rhino is he's a thug with powers. That's it. I mean, in this movie he had a combat suit, which was infinitely cooler, but he's a thug with powers. Okay? He never was much. Okay? The point behind that ending wasn't that, oh, we're not going to show you the end of the fight. Okay? No, because I know what blue-balling people on fights are. I watched Godzilla. No. This was to kind of show that Spider-Man goes on, even after tragedy, that he keeps fighting, and you know what, the idea, the prospect, that between the second and third movie, he's going to be fighting numerous villains, doesn't enrage me. Some people would be like, I want to see the fight too. Like, I'd like to see the fight too, but I don't know if I want them wasting movie time on it. You know, if I hear he fought Mysterio, like, oh well, I don't need to see it. I mean, you could show like a quick 5-minute like montage in the beginning of him fighting, or something of him fighting in the beginning. That'd be cool. But he doesn't need his own dang movie. Rhino doesn't need his own movie. Shocker doesn't need his own movie. You know, I could start naming off a lot of other villains who really don't need their own movie. They're supporting characters, and that's fine, because they're probably setting up for an Insidious 6 movie. He's gonna be fighting all of them at once. That'll be freaking epic. Because I know they set it up. I mean, they had Dr. Octopus's little tentacles in that room.
Yeah.
And they had it was clearly the Vulture suit. You know, or the Falcons, I guess.
I think that Spider-Man was where I actually learned about the Red Skull and Captain America at first.
Yeah, it was in the show. They did like an episode. They did like one episode. Yeah.
I think Blade was in it too once.
Yeah, Blade was in it.
That's so cool that all that showed up.
Yeah, like that's where they're going with the Insidious 6 for like the next one. It's pretty clear. There was actually the original end trailer scene that they cut out for a Days of Future Past thing because of some deal that the director made, because I think he wants to direct an X-Men movie or something. The original planned scene was you see Norman Osborn's frozen head, and the man in the darkness that you never really get a good shot of. He walks up and says, "Time to wake up."
Ew, gross.
So yeah, we're gonna get more. It's gonna be interesting where it goes. You know, I really enjoyed the film. It was more than it needed to be. The story arcs were good, and I think the important thing to remember about Spider-Man is Peter Parker, not the other way around. You know, Spider-Man is Peter Parker. That's why fanboys got upset when they were trying to change who Spider-Man was. It's because Spider-Man's Peter Parker. Peter Parker's problems, Peter Parker's life. We know who he is. The way they handled Gwen Stacy, I thought was, well, I mean, we knew it was going to end this way. I don't think I'm spoiling this for anybody. You know.
I was hoping you would change.
Yeah, I know. But to make certain that it was not his fault, that her being there was her choice, that he tried to stop her from being there. You know, I was so worried it was going to be directly his fault in some way, and it wasn't. He really, at the end, which is why you can believe him forgiving himself eventually, or being able to move on, because it really wasn't his fault. I mean, he couldn't keep her away if he'd wanted to, honestly, at this point. I mean, earlier decisions you could try to say, but no. He did everything he could. But still good. Still awesome.
I don't know. He could have pushed her away. Like, he tried.
He tried. He really did. And I think that was the important thing, is that you're thinking everything you think to do to try to get her out of the situation, he does. He does everything he can. And, you know, between her not having any of it and extraordinary circumstances and everything else, is just wasn't quite enough. They had the guts to do it. I think that's what really, really struck me about the film. They had the guts to do it. And most movies, they wouldn't do that. Come on.
You saw the snap on her back, and...
Like, most like, Marvel superhero movie? They had the guts to do it, you know? And the comics had the guts to do it way back when they first did it. This movie had the guts to do it. That's why, this is why it's number 2. Alright, so we're on to number 1. It kind of narrows down, so you probably know our picks, but I knew her pick for number 1, so...
Yeah, I'm...
I know.
Ever since I was teeny tiny Disney fangirl, all the way, transparently, yeah, the thing is that the funny thing that you need to know is I don't like Angelina Jolie. Like, I'm starting to forgive her for a lot of the things I didn't like her about, but I didn't like her, but... You have to admit, this aesthetically, that she does fit this role. And of course, me being the jerk I was like, yeah, which role is perfect for her? But, no. After this, I had to, like, let it go. I had to let go how I felt, because she did a fantastic job, and truth being, in her personal life, really, she is doing a lot of really good things, so what right do I have to judge her? But she really... made the part believable. She made the part emotional. Like, I already loved Maleficent because she was badass and she was basically evil for next to no chords. Okay. Only thing I hate is that, like, sitting in that chair, like, I've got all this... I hate, like, showing my body right now with all the tubes going on. We're using my camera now, so it's going to be a little lower quality and pretty yellow.
Last one died. His battery went.
Yeah, his battery died because we went on for a very, very long time. So it cut off, of course, in the middle of my Angelina Jolie discussion. But yeah, as I was saying, I have no right to judge her, and I'm just going to kind of forgive her. So now we're going to repeat everything we said because we totally finished the video, but it didn't actually record. So basically, instead of going into super details, I'm just going to, like, summarize what I said. Basically, imagery. If you want to go into a movie for aesthetics, this one is it. Everything is beautiful. The forest that they live in is beautiful. Every version of Maleficent, from oldest to youngest, is beautiful. Even the 3 Good Fairies, like, their designs are really pixie-ish and they're really cute.
Oh, yeah.
Complaints are that, alright, if you know the King Stefan in the cartoon, you know that he's, like, a real cool guy. This one is a real... where are his morals?
Yeah.
Where are his morals? He's willing to sell out who would have been his love interest.
just, I don't know. I mean, I've seen Game of Thrones. I know what people will do for power, okay? But, yeah.
Not King Joffrey.
Basically, like, the sad thing is that there's really nothing redeemable about him. What kind of happened is they flip-flopped places. Like, whereas Maleficent was that badass that did not need any excuse for anything, now he's the one in that position. But the thing is that the problem is that he's not cool while doing it. While she was, like, cool while doing it, he's not. The Three Good Fairies are... While the Three Good Fairies, the fun thing about them is how, like, naive and how silly they were in their back-and-forth arguments. That was really... Like, that's still there, but they take it a bit too far, like, to the point where they are pretty much useless, and, I mean, I don't think that they should have been that way, but they were trying to make Maleficent seem more motherly and seem more caring, so I know why they did it. I don't think that they needed to do it to the point where they were, like, taking away any of their, like, I don't know what word I'm thinking, but taking away any part of them. Just, like, they didn't need to be, like, Zan just came in the room and I got distracted, sorry. So they didn't need to take away any of their character, any of their personalities to make Maleficent more, you know, interesting. She could be interesting all on her own. But yeah, like, really getting to know the character, really getting a feel for the character was what really got to me. Just, like, you really felt for her. You really... And, like, the stuff with the crow was super cool. Like, she didn't turn into a dragon, but she let the crow turn into a dragon. And while that was almost as good, like, I think it would have been cool if she turned into a dragon, but at least they included the dragon. Trying to think what else I wanted to say about stuff. I know there was something. Aurora is still extremely lovable. Like, I think she's even more lovable here than she is in the other one. Just, like, I like Aurora, but she's really, like, what I always thought of as a little kid was kind of the silent princess. She didn't say a whole lot. And this, you know, she doesn't say a whole lot, but she says a whole lot more in this than she did in the other one. And I think that the actress absolutely suits her. Like, she's more, whereas the cartoon one seemed like a real knockout beauty. This is more of a classic beauty and more natural beauty, and I think it really suits Aurora herself.
Well, if I can insert a fact here, I was reading something last night. It said Aurora in the original cartoon was on screen for 13 minutes, and I think said 13 lines.
Oh.
If ever I was reading that right. But,
yeah, a lot. I think even Maleficent had more lines than she did in the original, but yeah, she was definitely a silent princess. Swear there was something else. I am totally brain farting. What was I gonna say? I know there was like one final fact I was gonna say before I handed the mic over. Oh, I remember now. If you're expecting a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, like, with just, like, another side of the story, you're not really going to get that. In certain parts, you could totally insert it, but after a while, it really starts to become its own story, where you can see that the sides have entirely changed, and, you know, it's not the same. It's an alternate universe, and, in my opinion, it's a dang good one. I told you my qualms, so...
Keep in mind, just because, you know, that was my 5 and that was her 1, I still like the movie. It's just my hang-ups were just a little... I had a few harder hang-ups, I guess, on it. But, you know, good. Great film. Great, nice retelling. Just different perspectives. That's cool. So we can have completely different perspectives on it. My number 1 pick, however, I don't think is that far off. Of course, it's Days of Future Past. This was such a good movie. It was everything it needed to be. In order to pull this story off, it had to be intense. There had to be so much in it, you know. They had to keep the audience interested, because time travel plots can be a bit complicated. And they managed to keep it together. They managed to keep the whole thing together, just an amazing way. They tied two-story arcs. We didn't think they'd tie together. We thought when they make it First Class, they were rebooting the series. Now, this was the series reboot. And, we all knew that X-Men needed a reboot, but we didn't really want them to restart, and I knew they didn't want to recast Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, because, dude, the casting was still spot on, I think.
Yeah. You're not going to get a better... We're not going to see a better Wolverine, not in our generation. Definitely not. Maybe one might come someday, but I can't imagine. It's like trying to imagine a better voice for the Joker than Mark Hamill. It's not happening. It's not happening. At least not in this generation. I don't expect it to happen. If somebody can pull it off, great. But the only hang-ups they had, there's a few continuum problems. Like, again, why was Wolverine in New York at the end of Vietnam? Because it was supposed to be with Stryker. No. Okay, whatever. I can get around that. That's a hand wave. Some people saying, well, the time is too bunched up. There's not enough time to do all the things between this movie and what's supposed to have happened originally, or stuff's supposed to already be going on in the Wolverine Origins movie. Since when has time mattered in a comic book? Ever. Let it go. Just seriously, let it go. It's not that big of a deal. The only other real problem I think I had with the film was when did Kitty learn how to do with the brain in the past thingy? Okay, again, I would take a hand wave explanation over this one, but they didn't give us that. It was kind of just, it's a thing now. Which I could kind of see, because she's already kind of kicking dimensions in the butt, jumping through walls and things. I guess I can kind of try to buy it, but I needed a little bit more to go on for this. I needed a little bit more. I mean, you could have just made a new character. I wouldn't have cared, but it was a little hard. I think they did a lot to tie together the loose ends of the previous series. And kind of say farewell to the original cast. I felt in a lot of ways. I mean, Hugh Jackman's still going to be around because it's Hugh Jackman. But a lot of the other guys, you're not going to see them again. And, her favorite part was, seeing old Charles, new Charles. One of my favorite parts was when Magneto and Charles were together at the end, the older ones. And Magneto's wounded. Charles is there beside him, and Magneto just kind of puts his hand and says, for all those days we spent fighting, I would just wish for a few of them back. And I'm just like, darn. Because this was the Magneto, that, that she likes, so much. The one who can think, who does put things out. Magneto's always been grandiose, and he was so grandiose in this film. Old, new. The old one not quite so much, because, he's getting too old for this. But the new one, the young one, oh my gosh. He went full on Magneto. I'm gonna make a statement here. He made too much of a statement, in my opinion. To the point I'm saying, if you had done this a little bit more subdued, you'd get what you wanted and more. No, we're gonna make a big display. And what a display it was, because as I'm watching, I'm like, normally in one of these movies, I would say, why don't police or military get in this way or do this, or why isn't anybody here? No, this one's like, no, there's really nothing. He's pretty much got everybody dead to rights right now. It's kind of absurd, but it's amazing in its absurdity. I love that. The Sentinels were the original ones were, I felt, a good mix between the comic books and reality. And the newer ones were frightening things. I loved it. The movie kept me interested and watching the whole time. Normally I can talk back and forth during movies. She was trying to talk to me about something, and I could barely hear her because I'm trying to listen to the movie. I'm like, I can only listen to one at a time. This movie just exceeded all expectations in so many ways. It had a few hiccups. I just said it had a few hiccups. It definitely did what it needed to do. It surpassed my expectations. I was expecting it to be I was expecting X-Men level quality, or slightly above X-Men level quality. This was like a Marvel Studios film. This was And a lot of people, there's people out there who don't like this. I don't get it. I don't personally get it. Oh, it also erates since the Wolverine Origins movie is no longer in continuum anymore either, which means they can make Deadpool right. That is always a plus. I don't know where he's going to get his adamantium bones from now. I guess they'll work that out. You know what? If they hand wave that, I'm cool with that. I mean, they hand waved Magneto being related to Quicksilver. That was great. Oh, my mom knew a guy who could control metal. I love that. But I don't know how he was able to listen to his music when he went to hyperspeed. He put his headphones on, he's listening to music. I'm like, unless he's got that thing over cranked, I don't even know how he'd do that without destroying the tape. I'm assuming it's a Walkman. It's gonna destroy that thing. It's gonna fry it. But hey, he pulled it off. This movie was good. I came out of it loving this film. I was just like, I was not expecting it to be my favorite when I went in. I came out, and I was just trying to think, like, was it my favorite? Yeah, I think it was. And that was a hard fight for the top, but it totally did. You know, other movies, some of the other movies, you know, like Maleficent, rewrote my expectations. Completely rewrote it, and that was great. That was great that a movie went outside the bounds. Godzilla did what it needed to do, but didn't quite get my, you know, level that I wanted. Wanted more.
Such violence.
You know, Captain America surpassed all my expectations, but I'm not quite as into Captain America as Crystal is here, but I liked it. Spider-Man went above and beyond. It was really down to Spider-Man or Days of Future Past, but Days of Future Past did so much more for me. This is where I went fan on it. And I think ultimately the fan push is what got it, because X-Men movies happen few enough between that I don't get bored with them as quickly as the Spider-Man movies. Like, I was actually against this new Spider-Man series until I started watching it. It was good. It was good. Yeah, yes. I love Days of Future Past. She loved Days of Future Past. It's just her fangirl just push Maleficent into the top spot, and that's fine. That's fine. Love movies. These were five great movies.
They were. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say, but
yeah. I know this was like a super long video, so much so that even our cameras are like, dude, stop. But
even the cameras are critics.
But, you know, we're gonna probably be doing more stuff along these lines anyway, so I kind of wanted to integrate a top 5 into this because I see us doing a lot more like this in the future. We want to collaborate. We have a lot of ideas, and this was kind of like a taste of what you might expect. So, you know,
collaboration.
So I'm gonna let you guys go. But if you made it to the end of this, thank you so much for watching it.
And if you didn't like us being this long, just let it go.